nutrients available. And there is something about, you know, each one of us bring our uniqueness. And then when these networks come together, we share the nutrients and we get stronger and we hold hands. But when you think about partnering, it's like, it sounds great in theory, but when I approach major networks, there's this kind of, oh, it sounds great, but then everybody sort of starts flinching. And it's this archetypal wound between women, this separation that is so frightening to just open and say, you know, will you let me in, and can we do this, and can we figure it out, and can we discover and, you know, risk the betrayal that we're terrified of and the rejection that we're terrified of, all the rest of it. And we sat there like these two little 3-year-olds yesterday going, can I imagine that these festivals are ours, and can you imagine having a global sisterhood behind you? And we both went, whoa! But yes, so we're just going to do it because we're going to be stronger together, and these two trees need to be woven together. And there is nothing more important than womankind rebirthing herself and bringing through a new consciousness on this planet. We cannot expect the men to do it. I will get on my soapbox and start banging like crazy and just saying there is such brilliance in this room that is still banked up, that needs to be released and released and released until the life that we are as nature is steering us on a different path. We have to let go of who we're not so that she can show us who we are. And that is WomanFest to me. That is holding a space, a safe space for women to come together. And TreeSisters has always been so very virtual. And the very week I turned around to the team and said, virtual is great, but we've got to gather. We've got to gather and gather and gather. We need festivals, but we can't organise them. How the hell can we do that? 2 days later, Tiana pops up and says, would you like to come to WomanFest? And I'm like, yeah, if you let me do the opening ceremony. It was a good opening ceremony. Because it matters so much to me. Because not wasting a minute together really matters to me. Because I can't handle the flippancy that we've been cultured into when there's raging rivers underneath that need to create an ocean of a new possibility. So we're not just here to partner, we're also here to grow a forest together. So, you know, we were already partnering to a degree, so, you know, the profits that are going for this are already coming to grow a forest. Those of you that have offset your carbon to get here, that's coming towards a forest. And we also want to let you know that you can simply grow a forest right here, right now, because we figured out text to donate. And this will be my glamorous assistant. This will be our WomanFest forest, literally. Now, I need you to know that if you do this, and I'm just going to ask you all to do it, just because we're losing 14 to 40 million trees a day on this planet. 14 to 40 million trees, and yet we are breathing them in every moment, and we are eating the food that they create through the rainfall, and we cannot consistently simply look away and say, it's fine, someone else is going to sort out the problem. Women rising is one half of it. Women steering what is rising through them towards the restoration of our world is the other half of it. Shifting consciousness and putting that consciousness into action. That's TreeSisters. It's sisters and it's trees. So I just wanted to tell you about the trees so that you knew what you're growing. So for those of you that don't know, this is really interesting doing this with straddle. I can't do technology of any kind.
Love you, Claire.
At least I don't pretend that I can. I can do the mouth bit, but nothing else. So we are obviously TreeSisters. Those of you that don't know, it came in a car crash to me. It was given to me fully formed. You just look on the internet for the Woman on Fire speech that I did as Claire Dakin. That was before I married a man who gave me the name Dubois, which means of the woods, and I didn't know, which is the coolest thing in the world, because my name now means clarity of the woods. And it took people after the wedding to tell me that I'd married the correct man to give me the best name. Anyway, but the direction at the crash was basically to reforest the tropics, because the tropical belt of forest around our planet is a massive source of our hydrological cycle. It's one of the rain creators, the main rain creators on our planet. The flying rivers that pour out of the sky through the Amazon are bigger per day than the Amazon River itself, and that is the biggest river on the planet. You cannot see one bank to the other bank when you stand at the estuary, but what's pouring through the sky, that those rivers, that those trees transpire and that becomes rainfall for the rest of the planet, is bigger per day than what pours into the sea. It is a tragedy and a travesty that humanity doesn't recognize this, but we are building our relationship back with the forests, and so we're planting in Madagascar, 2 sites. My favorite project, the mangroves, because mangroves sequester 30% more carbon again than normal tropical trees, which sequester 3 times as much as temperate trees. Because if you think about it, it's full summer all year round, so they're just sequestering, growing. In Madagascar, back up. So our projects are amazing. They're not ours. We do a very rigorous project selection process to actually, and because we're a UK charity, it's the most rigorous in the world because we're taking taxpayers' money and directing it towards these projects. So it's incredibly rigorous, but we're looking for projects that honour the people on site, that deepen the culture, that have a really strong social benefit, that are ecologically completely appropriate, indigenous, all of it, and then they're financially stable. So just to say, there's a 3-month process we go through to grill these organisations before we take them on, and many don't get past that. We can fall in love with the project, but we end up not having to do it because they're not financially strong enough or whatever. So these are great projects, and so Madagascar is mangroves, which essentially is helping to restore the fish stocks, because they're saline, they're all around the estuaries, and they're the breeding grounds for fishes. So the people of Madagascar are falling into what we call indentured slavery to the fish barons. And that is because they go to fish, they borrow the boats and they borrow the nets, and then they can't pay back through the yield of fish because there's no fish, because the mangroves are being stripped away. They go into indentured slavery, the women can be taken, the children can be taken. They are not allowed to work anywhere else, they starve to death. So the project there actually really, it's the best trees in the world. Mangroves are awesome on every level, but also we're getting people out of indentured slavery, you're getting women out of slavery, you're getting kids back and kids into education. It's astonishing. The second project in Madagascar is dry deciduous, and that are for the 6 remaining species of lemur that haven't gone extinct, something like 14 that already have. And for those of you that don't know, the extinction rate now is 1,000 times over normal. So when we talk about endangered species, we can say the British bumblebee went on last week. So 2 in Madagascar, 2 in India. The first one, Project Green Hands, agroforestry in the south, where they've now lost 9 rivers due to climate change and the fact that the monsoons have failed. So we have to drip irrigate everything to allow a tree to flourish. And cloud forest in the far northeast, which is completely amazing because we're working with the last matrilineal indigenous tribe, which basically means all the wealth of the family goes to the youngest daughter. So cool that even exists. And they're planting trees and restoring the cloud forest in northern India. Cameroon, we are regrowing a patchwork around the last remaining 250 cross-river gorillas on the planet. It's also mountains, so that is the watershed that then replenishes all the lowland for agriculture. Same in Mount Kenya, where we're also reforesting the east and the north slopes of Mount Kenya. Again, it's turning rapidly to desert. They're losing their crops. If you lose the forest on the mountains, it's the forest that captures, like as the warm air, that's good, rises and cools and condenses. If there's no forest, it simply runs off, and it doesn't go into the aquifers, and then it doesn't become the rivers and the streams. So the forest captures it, puts it down in their roots, goes into the groundwater, then it nourishes everybody else. And two more. Brazil, Atlantic rainforest, only 3% left where we're planting. Used to be the entire of that swathe of Brazil. They're burning it faster than you can say diddly shit. And we are regrowing forest corridors between the remaining intact areas so that endangered pumas, jaguars, ocelots, endangered monkeys, there's even endangered trees that we're planting there. And lastly, Nepal, where we are helping grow community forests around the remaining rainforest, again, where we are, it's down to 3%. 3%. We're not supposed to get anywhere below 33. To change the weather, and on most of the planet, we are in serious, serious difficulties. So this is me trying to infect you with a feeling of, oh my God, wouldn't it be incredible if I knew that every month I'm giving back. Every month I'm pulling carbon out of the atmosphere. Every month I'm cooling rather than just warming. Every month I'm saying I'm not just going to take for myself ongoingly every day from the planet and give nothing back and expect her to keep her shit together because she's losing her shit really fast. And it's because she cannot cool herself down. She can't self-regulate. We are essentially stripping her forests, which are her primary carbon sink, whilst we're pumping so much carbon into the atmosphere. It's like chain smoking, being told you've got cancer and cutting out the healthy part of your lungs. That's what we're doing. So I am thrilled that we are going to get to play together all around the world, and we need you to do that, because we need you to kind of sink the vision of WomanFest into the ground here, a little bit like we did at the beginning of the opening ceremony, to not just go, oh, that was a nice festival, and then leave, but actually hold the seed of it in your womb, in your heart, as something that can grow, that you want to grow, that you want to get your friends to, that you want to contribute to, that you want to bring your leadership to, and that we can marry that with why are we doing that? Why are we unleashing ourselves? Because consciousness on this planet has to shift and women have to take leadership. End of story. And then we can help direct that through the multiple different areas of Tree Sisters that are longing for your creativity. Because Tree Sisters belongs to the network. It's network-led, it's yours. It's anybody that wants to pick it up. So here is your way of texting. I can't read it, but Jenny could. And I believe there is a Tracy in the room who's wanting to say a poem. Are you going to come up here and do it, or are you going to stay down there and do it? What are you going to do? Just get me off stage as fast as possible, because I won't stop talking. Yeah, question?
So, what measures are taken to make sure that the trees that Tree Sisters are planting won't be chopped down by the same?
We won't. Well, so she asked what measures are taken to ensure that the trees won't be chopped down. Hardwoods have no value until they are at least 20 to 25 years old. So hardwoods are considered the health insurance or life insurance of many farmers. There are different species. Some of the species will be cut down, but the ones that are cut down are usually ones that grow back immediately, and they do that for fencing, they do that for materials. So one of the things that we have to get over is thinking that the people in these areas have no dependency on the forest or should take nothing from the forest. This is about building relationship back with the forest, because if they can use certain trees for fencing, or if they can use it for medicine, or if they can ultimately harvest and replant, then they feel their indivisibility and they want trees in their lives. And that's what we have to do. We have to bring trees back to make them absolutely ingrained. But as a choice, we will not partner with anybody that we can't prove that the trees are monitored and we get reported back. And it's going to be GPSed. We're built, like the different projects, they're very remote, but we're getting to the GPS stage. But it's part of the due diligence process that we go through. It's finding out exactly how they treat the trees, who's protecting them. Many of the projects have guards, and the locals are actually employed to guard them, because otherwise people just come straight in, or they bring their animals in, or they want to burn them. So they'll be also paying for people who deal with fire, especially in Madagascar, because in many countries around the world, the reason they get rid of forest is because they're taught that the fresh new shoots of grass are best for the cattle. So they'll wipe out entire forests just to put beef on the land, essentially. And the forest goes, and the forest starts coming back, and they burn the lot again. So we have to make sure that we're working with organizations there who are rigorous about fire, rigorous about poaching, rigorous about people coming in, and it's all part of that process. And those that tick all those dots, then we work with them. And we can still have fires, and we can still have floods, and we can still have disease. Nothing is foolproof. We can't say anything is foolproof, but we can say that we're working with some of the best that we've found, and we're consistently looking for the best. So we're looking deeply into working in the Amazon at the moment. We're looking at Sulawesi in Indonesia. We're looking at Haiti. We're looking at various different places, so that we can consistently keep growing the portfolio and help people understand all the different ways that you can work with trees to restore life, to restore the fabric of life, essentially. Any other questions while I'm up here? Just out of interest. Yeah. Is this a new thing? It's a new thing. We've never done text to donate.
So if everybody could get a commitment to either Insta or Facebook or whatever, like in the next hour or two, that could provide
Beautiful.
interest.
It could provide, well, it'll provide some it'll provide you with a way of very easily making a donation now without having to wade through our donation system inside of Tree Sisters. My deepest wish would be that every single one of you would actually come into Tree Sisters and make a proper donation and set it up monthly, because we're taking monthly, we're warming monthly. And the whole purpose of Tree Sisters is to normalize giving back. That's the thing. We're trying to make the cultural shift from a consumer species to a restorer species, where restoration is embedded into our lives as a new aspect of humanity. Like, it has to become normal or it's over. Like, it's over, essentially. We're running out of time so badly now. And the old systems, which are very much patriarchal, they can't get out of the exploitative domination mindset. And the mindset has to change. And the mindset is actually just, it's like a psychic structure. You know, it's an energetic structure. So if we are, you know, in our subtlety as women, can actually engage with that and no longer withdraw our energy from it and start putting our energy towards the thing that we want, which is a restorative consciousness. If we make it normal, it has to start with us making it normal. And then the more of us that make it normal, the more of us that make it normal, it starts to become this new rhythm of generosity, giving back, giving back, giving back, giving back. And then how do we give back from our businesses? How do we give back from our charities? How do we give back? Give back. Because it's just been take, 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 take. That's all it's been for thousands of years. This is our moment. Can we switch it? And what I was told in the car crash is that it's women have to shift it. Feminine consciousness has to be reinstated. Women have to remember who and what they are, or it's over. Literally, that's what I heard. And it was a very strong voice that just said, women have to remember who and what they are. Feminine consciousness has to be reinstated, or it's over.
And that is a really beautiful offer as well. If you wanna take a photo of that and share it, great. And just invite others. Yeah.
So please, let's grow a forest together, and let that forest grow more every month, because you're giving every month. And then every festival we can plug that in, and we can start growing awareness of this commitment to give back every month. And where's this floating home? Here she is. Come on. This is Tracy.